shalom, shalom. It's Soldier Ehud Benaniyah of the Battle Axes of the Most High, coming to you with another Fervent Friday. Call Halal Yahweh for another opportunity to feed the sheep of Israel, as told by Yahweh Shah. Feed my sheep. Yes, that's what we're doing. Most High willing, every day. All right. Now everybody's been seeing all types of different things going on. You got weather events, earthquakes, and hurricanes, and all types of different things going. But through all of that, now that the raffle, right? Shalom, shalom. Michael, it's good to see you. All right. Shalom, everyone. Man, I've been enduring under the grace and mercy of the Most High. All right. Shalom, Sister Genesis. All right. Shalom, Sellers. Good to see you, King. All right. So now that they gotten the raffle out of the way, if y'all know what I'm talking about, we have to be wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove with dealing with this AI. Now that the raffle's out of the way, there's a lot of people upset. But this week's class is named, Have You Become Comfortable in Captivity? Right? Have you become, this is a good question, have you become comfortable in captivity? As we can see, when our ancestors were back in Egypt, a lot of them became comfortable with captivity, right? They had become comfortable with the way that they were actually living under the thumb of the Pharaoh. Y'all hit that like button on the way in, all right? I believe it's like 3 dots in the upper right corner up there. You hit that, a little drop down comes, you hit that thumb up. Won't cost you a thing. Just want to spread the word of the Most High to the 4 corners of the earth, right? So again, we want to ask yourselves, right? Have you become comfortable in captivity, right? Because if our ancestors were able to become comfortable, then that same spirit can jump on us, because nobody's spirit-proof except Yahweh Shah, the Most High, right? And the angels, because they can't do anything outside of what the Most High has created them to do. So we're going to start out this week with Deuteronomy 28 and 47, all right? And it reads, Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things, right? We had the opportunity to do this, right? So this is a cause and effect. Verse 48 says, Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, with hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. He shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. Right? Shalom, shalom. Shalom, Heaven Hound 55. Good to see you. All right. So because we did not serve the Lord with joyfulness and gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things, because he gives us everything, right? Give us life, gives us strength, right? Because we did not do this, now we had the consequences of what the Most High said he would do to us for not doing this, right? He said, you're going to serve your enemies, right? So, hey, that's captivity right there. Which the Lord shall send against thee. And we know who the Lord has sent against us, right? Native Americans, they got into idolatry, stopped doing what the Most High asked of them after they made, hey, we'll get over here. We're going to serve you the way you want to be served, right? That's just like our people, just like our children. Oh, if you let me go out, Dad or Mom, I promise I'll clean my room, I'll wash the dishes. You come home, dishes halfway washed, right? Gone, right? After we made those promises, Northern Kingdom didn't keep them. They went right back into idolatry. And because of them going back into idolatry, most of us, okay, no problem. I'm going to have these settlers, right, these pilgrims, get lost by mistake on purpose. I'm going to have Christopher Columbus, he's looking for India. No, I'm going to have him get lost and show up here. And that's when he came back to the Queen with the first set of Israelites, which were the Taino Indians, which were the tribe of Ephraim, right? The Samaritan. Because Ephraim is the capital of Samaria, right? We have to look at what situation we're in now. In hunger, right? Everything we look for, you go to the store, this is organic. You look at those stickers, they're all the same. This is fat-free. It's not. This is gluten-free. It's not. This is kosher. It's probably not. All right? Because they don't care how they get the food out. As long as someone's buying it, as long as their trust fund is still going up, as long as they can live deliciously off the sweat, blood, and backs of those who they oppress, then they're perfectly fine with that. Perfectly fine with that, right? Also, in thirst. I don't know if you guys have been watching the news, you're probably going to your Google search. A lot of water's getting recalled. A lot of bottled water's getting recalled. I think Fuji, this alkaline water, like they're recalling them. So you paying like $5, $6 a bottle, but yet they got all these types of discrepancies in the water. What are we doing? Right? They're gonna tell you, hey, that's better than that Walmart water. That's better than this type of water. This has alkalines in it, right? But guess what? We serving our enemies, so they're going to give you whatever they want to, right? It's like they gave us the scraps off their table. Also, in nakedness, right? We know, hey, we're out here wearing clothes that says 100% polyester, 100% cotton, right? 100% this, 100% that. I don't trust that. Because if you notice, a lot of the shirts a little extra stretchy, a lot of the pants a little stretchy. Who's to say they're not mixing fabrics to cut corners on the costs, right? They're not out here dealing with Moabite cotton, things of that nature. And one of all things, right? And what are those all things that we're one of? Driver's license, right? Permit, any kind of permit. You want to perform somewhere. You want to go out and do something. You need a permit. Got to go ask Esau. Can we do a parade? Got to ask Esau, right? As well as marriage license, divorce license, to become a minister, right? All of these documents, right, are one of all things. You want to sign up your kids for school? Got to go through us. You want your kids to stay at home and be taught there? Got to go through us. That's the way they look at it. They have it set up, right? Shalom Akwafana, right? Rakata Masapakya, right? We are in a situation where our back's against the wall. Shalom, Yaakov. Good to see you, King. All right, good to see both of y'all, right? We have to look at why we're in this situation. We had the opportunity to serve the Lord with joyfulness and gladness, right? But we chose not to do that. So now it's to the point where it says, he shall put a yoke upon thy neck until he hath destroyed thee. Now that yoke is on our heart or our minds, right? First thing you do, you wake up, you're looking at your phone, right? You're looking at your phone. You're on an app. You're checking to see who sent you a text message, right? And yoke's on your mind. Those first moments of you waking up, having that new life for that day, belongs to the Most High. It belongs to it, right? We have to really look at our kids have a yoke on them, right? Our wives, our husbands, our families, they have a yoke on them. I'm not going to believe that. I don't believe that's in the Bible. These things are being done to us in real time, right? We can see the yoke put on our people. Oh, if you don't select this person in the universal raffle to run everything, then hey, you can't talk about it, or you're part of the problem, and everybody's at odds with one another, right? So we're going to look at some of these things here in captivity that we're dealing with. It said in one of all things, in hunger, in thirst, in nakedness, in one of all things, right? You need a passport, right? Permission to travel. You don't think those types of things were in the Bible, right? You need building documents to add on to your home or to rebuild. Big vehicle registration for your car, right? So double standards for employment, right? As well as secret educational standards put upon your offspring. All of these things are going on while we're in this captivity, right? So I'm going to go to Ezra, right, to show that even Ezra, a mighty prophet and a priest, right, had to get a passport, permission to travel, as well as building documents to help rebuild, right? These things aren't brand new, right? But we have to ask ourselves, are we getting comfortable in captivity, right? You got a 30-second prayer now. You used to pray fervent, being there for a while. Now all of a sudden, you're in the closet for like 10 seconds, like you saying a dinner prayer. Lord, thank you for this food, amen. This is what becomes the problem, right? This is what becomes the problem. We're not serving the Most High with joyfulness and glee, right? We're not happy. Hey, I was able to wake up this morning and walk, right? There's somebody right now struggling in a rehab facility to be able to move their legs or be able to walk again, right? You gotta ask yourself, are you serving the Lord with joyfulness and glee, or have you become comfortable in captivity? Ask yourself that, right? Let's go over to Ezra. Let's get this example of why this had to happen, right? Because Darius was in charge at this moment. He was pretty much the king. He was in charge. He was making the decrees. He was saying what could be done and what could not be done, right? We're going to Ezra, the 6th chapter. I'm going to start at verse 3, right? In the first year of Cyrus, the king, the same Cyrus, the king, made a decree, right? Concerning the house of God at Jerusalem. Let the house be builded, the place where they offered sacrifices, and let the foundations thereof be strongly laid. So Most High put a spirit on him to have this done, right? The height the height thereof 60 cubits, and the breadth therefore 60 cubits. So he's already giving building designs, right? Because we were in captivity in regards to it. So we have to look at the records that was written and what had to transpire for our people, because we're in captivity now, just like Ezra was in captivity then. Let's jump down to verse 7, right? It says, let the work of this house of God alone. Let the governor of the Jews and the elders of the Jews build this house of God in his place. So the Most High put a spirit on one of our oppressors to allow us to rebuild a temple, because the Most High is in control even when you don't think you have any might in your hands. Because guess what? They could have just been building something else for them to do idolatry in, or to give sacrifices to gods that they never knew, or food unto sacrifices of gods they were not supposed to be serving, right? Verse 8, it says, moreover, I make a decree, what ye shall do to the elders of these Jews for the building of this house of God, that the king goods, even of the tribute beyond the river, for with expenses be given unto these men, that they be not hindered. So what was going on is the king was signing off on building documents and arrangements to rebuild the house of the Most High, right? We have to look at what the Most High will do for you, even when you assume that you're all alone, right? Let's go over to Proverbs 16 and 7, right? Let's go to Proverbs 16 and 7. Because at the end of the day, the Most High didn't have to put it on that king's heart for us to be left alone, right? The goods, the tributes beyond the river, right? Be given to these men and not hindered. So they were given permission or documents giving them the permit to build with these items that was taken from our forefathers, right? Y'all hit that like as y'all come on in, right? But let's look at Proverbs 16 and 17, right? Let's look at the actual wisdom that we have to really walk in when it comes to being in this captivity. Not to get comfortable, right? But to be conscious of what we're enduring through, right? Proverbs 16 and 7. When a man's ways please the Lord, right? He maketh even his enemies to be at peace with him. Our enemies were those people that was ruling over us, right? The Most High made them to be at peace with us by giving us all the materials and things we needed to actually build the house of the Most High back up, right? He had those kings to be at peace with us, right? Also, let's go over to Genesis 39 and 21, right? Yeah, I put a 1 in the chat. Not sure if the chat has frozen, but we noticed that a lot of times they freeze our chat so we can't, answer questions or respond to those. So put a 1 in the chat if just to let me know that the chat isn't frozen already, right? But we're also going to get another example of the Most High making your enemies to be at peace with you, right? The book of Genesis, chapter 39, verse 21. It says, but the Lord was with Joseph, right? Because Joseph was thrown in prison, right? Because his master's wife falsely accused him of violating her, right? Because she wanted to lay with him. He didn't want to deal with her. He didn't want to lay with her. He just wanted to do his job, and that's it. So I don't see no ones in the chat, so they probably froze our chat out, right? But hey, the lesson's going to keep going. So if you're in the chat saying shalom, or if you're speaking shalom to you, they have frozen our chat once again. Not sure why they're doing that. It's crazy, right? But again, we're at Genesis 39 and 21. It says, but the Lord was with Joseph and shewed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison, right? So in the sight of the keeper of the prison, guess what? He gave us mercy, showed mercy, and gave favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. The Most High had the Most High had the enemy to actually be at peace with us, right? Salakia, for 1 second, let me check something, right? It looks like they're frozen the actual chat, right? Not sure what's going on in regards to that, but we do understand how they operate. They do these types of things to try to hinder the word of the Most High. But guess what? The word of the Most High does not go out void, right? It does not go out void. So let me just check something. Yep. Okay. All right. So well, I can see that. So, yep, they frozen our chat for the most part. But hey, we're not worried about that. We're going to keep on teaching. Let's look at another example of passports, permission to travel, as well as building documents to add on or rebuild to our property, right? The property of the Lord, which he commanded us to actually go in and replenish, right? We're going to go over to Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 4, right? And this is when Artaxerxes, right, allowed Nehemiah to return to Jerusalem, right? And we're going to start at verse 4, the book of Nehemiah, chapter 2, verse 4. And this is during the Persian Medes, during the 539 time period, right? And also Ezra walked with Nehemiah. If you didn't know that, it's a fun fact, right? The book of Nehemiah, chapter 2, verse 4. Then the king said unto me, for what doest thou make requests? So I prayed to the God of heaven. And I said unto the king, if it please the king, and if thy servant have found favor in thy sight, that thou wouldest send me into Judah unto the city of my fathers' sepulchres, that I may build it. And the king said unto me, the queen also sitting by him, for how long shall thy journey be? Just like when you go on an actual shalom, Captain Jerubbaal. So I guess they didn't freeze out the chat, right? So he's asking in front of his wife, he says, how long are you going on a journey, right? It's like a work permit, right? When people come into the country, they get a work permit. And it's funny that they have Issachar, the so-called Mexicans, have to come in on a work visa. And if you stay beyond that, it becomes a problem, right? But as you can see here, in our captivity, we was going through this during this time, right? He said, for how long shall that journey be? And when wilt thou return? Right? It's just like a passport. You get it stamped on the way out. Hey, you got to come back. You can't just stay there at that point. That's what he was telling Nehemiah, right? It says, so it pleased the king to send me, and I set him a time. So Nehemiah said, hey, you know, I'm going to be gone for this amount of time. Moreover, I said unto the king, if it please the king, let letters be given me to the governors beyond the river, that they may convey me over till I come into Judah, right? These are traveling documents. These are governmental documents to go in, to do work, and to be able to travel safely, right? Without issue, right? Also, verse 8, it says, and a letter unto Asaph, the keeper of the king's forest, that he may give me timber to make beams for the gates of the palace which appertained to the house, and for the wall of the city, and for the house that I shall enter into. And the king granted me according to the good hand of my God upon me, right? Because what Nehemiah had to do was go rebuild the walls, right? So what he did is when he went out there, he was surveying, looking at the damage, looking at what had been done in regards to it. Because he found out in chapter 1 that those actual walls had been broken down, right? And they, when they came in to get them, they didn't come in playing. So Nehemiah prayed, he fasted, and prayed upon the God of the Most High God of heaven, right? And he asked if he could grant mercy in the sight of the king, right? He said, can you grant me some mercy in the sight of this king, right? Because he was the king's cupbearer at one point, right? So when that month of Nisan came, he went to the king and said, hey, would you mind if I go back to rebuild our property, rebuild these walls, these breaches that have been put into our walls, right? So he had to ask for permission to travel, building documents to get materials, right? Had to have a passport, had to have permission He had to have the king's blessing for him to go. But it was all signed off on by the Most High. He was the master builder in regards to that. The Most High. He signed off or having the king, right? Shalom, Ephraim Badi Yasharala. Good to see you, brother, right? He signed off first. He signed off. He says, I'm going to utilize this king, Artaxerxes. You can't spell tax with Artaxerxes. The word tax is right in the middle of his name, right? But he was able to actually have his enemies be at peace with him. Just like we read in Proverbs 16 to 17. Nehemiah's ways was pleasing to the Lord, right? He made Artaxerxes be at peace with him to say, okay, no problem. How long are you going for? When you coming back? I know you're my cupbearer, right? The Most High has given us opportunities to do his work in captivity. But are you getting comfortable in captivity? Because Nehemiah could have said, hey, I'm the cupbearer. I don't need to go rebuild these walls. I'm good. I'm bringing his cup. I'm chilling. He treats me good. His wife likes me. He likes me somewhat. It's not as hard as everybody else's captivity. I'm chilling, right? But no, Nehemiah was a man of the Most High. He was going to do thus say the Lord, not thus say himself, right? We can't become comfortable in captivity, right? We have to be asking the Most High to make our enemies our footstool. I ask him to turn my job upside down, inside out. No different from when Elijah prayed for it to not rain for 3.5 years, right? But guess what? When you pray for rain, gotta take the mud with it, right? You pray for drought, you gotta take what comes with that as well. You gotta take the thirst with it, right? So me praying for my job to be flipped upside down, inside out. Guess what? Job's been a little unstable in regards to, providing hours, things of that nature. But guess what? I have to serve the Lord with joyfulness and glee that he answered the prayer. Because you got to look at it. When the prophet prayed for that rain to not come for 3.5 years, people probably scoff and mock. What? You think it's not going to rain for 3.5 years? You crazy. Huh. Guess you didn't see the Most High drop that fire down from heaven and me go down there and execute all 450 of Jezebel's false prophets. They didn't think about that. They murmured. They scoffed, right? This is what our people do, right? Another thing, because you'll say, well, I'm not in captivity. I'm not a slave still. But who is FICA on your check, right? Who are all these deductions that are coming out of your check? Those are tributes that you're paying to the actual government you reside in, right? You got to pay those tributes. They won't give you any kind of check unless it comes with those things. Now, if you work at 1099, they still gonna be looking for their money at the end of the year. So there's no way around paying this tribute, right? There's no way around it. So we got to look at this, right? Because when he got there, the survey, this is what happened, verse 9. It says, then I came to the governors beyond the river and gave them the king's letter. So he presented his papers, right? Now, the king had sent captains of the army and horsemen with me. So he had a presidential escort to go survey his property. The Most High had his enemies to be at peace with him, right? Because he didn't have to make it there. Think about it. When our people were in slavery, and let's say the slave master decided to cut them loose and gave them their freedom papers, as they called it, you weren't allowed to read as a slave, right? So if you got caught out there by slave catchers, and they were out there, if you got caught out there by slave catchers and you had your documents, and they said, what you doing out here, boy? You know you're not supposed to be out here. Where you coming from? And he says, I is a free, right? I'm a free man, right? They're going to say, well, who freed you? Oh, Master Johnson, back so. right? Master Johnson back there in Tallahassee, right? Oh, Shalom, Shalom. I'm just a soldier. I'm just a humble servant, right? But Shalom, good to see you, King, right? You weren't allowed to read, so when you took out those freedom papers to present those papers, right? They're gonna say, "Well, what is this, boy?" Well, these are my freedom papers. Yeah, well, what does it say? Now, if you were not utilizing discernment, this was a trap that you were being set up in. If you were unaware, right, or you just didn't know that it was against the law for you to read, right? Shalom, shalom, Ak Moses, right? Good to see you, King. Glad that you're here, man. I pray that you had a glorious doctor's appointment that went in your favor, thus said the Lord, right? When you tried to have that conversation as a slave with a slave catcher, they already didn't like you because of who you were. But now you're saying that, hey, I got a free slave walking around. You know why? They rip up that document and burn it. Who's to say you was ever free, right? Shalom, Jose, right? They're not going to go back to ask Master Johnson, hey, did you free this guy? No. As soon as you say, well, it says here I'm free. How do you know that? Well, Master Johnson told me. Well, maybe he made a mistake. It doesn't say that. It says something else. Well, what does it say? It says that you're not free, right? So we're going to, and we don't believe that Master Johnson let you free. We're going to take you to Master Thomas, right? My cousin. He need a good slave like you. And that's how they played it. But as you can see, Nehemiah, he came there and he had a 3-day work permit, right? He was there in Jerusalem for 3 days. Because when you read into so like we read verse 11, it says, so I came to Jerusalem and was there for 3 days, right? He saw the distress of everything that was broken down, right? He saw that the gates were burnt with fire, right? He saw that there was work that needed to be done, right? And basically, the Most High had operated. Let's read it, verse 18, right? Nehemiah 2 and 18, he says, I told them of the hand of my God, which was good upon me, and also the king's word that he had spoken unto me. And they said, let us rise up and build. So they strengthened their hands for this good works, right? That's where the problem started. Because if we're looking at verse 19, but when Sanballat, the Horonite, and Tobiah, the servant, the Ammonite, and Geshem, the Arabian. So when they say, lineage isn't in the Bible, right? Race isn't in the Bible. Ethnicity isn't in the Bible. Called him an Arabian. He was an Ishmaelite, right? He was an Ishmaelite. It says, the Arabian heard it, they laughed us to scorn and despised us, right? And said, what is this thing that ye do? Will ye rebel against the king? Right? Then answered I them and said unto them, the God of heaven, he will prosper us. Therefore we his servants will arise and build. But ye have no portion, nor right, nor memorial in Jerusalem. Right? So he's telling them off rip, hey, guess what? We finna rebuild this, but you ain't got nothing to do with this, what we're doing, right? Yeah, you laughing us to score. Yeah, it's funny. Oh, we're gonna rebel against the king because we will show a favor. We trust in the Most High God. That was a problem for them. That's why they laughed. That's why they was laughing to score, because that was an issue. Anytime it came to us serving our God and our God was fighting for us or doing something for us, guess what? At the end of the day, that was a problem for Esau. That was a problem for him, right? Because we got to look at how they wanted to always do them, right? It's always an issue when we want to do the work of the Lord. We go out to the street teach, that's an issue. Why are you yelling? Why are you fussing? Why are you screaming? The Bible says in Isaiah 58:1, cry loud, right? Cry loud. We had a wicked sister come out to the camp last week. I'm sure a lot of y'all seen the video. It's unfortunate that our people have these spirits of delusion on them, these reprobate spirits. She's out there, she's just a yelling. She's cursing. She's all over the place with it. One moment she's talking about the Bible, next moment she's with every word but the children of God, right? She wants us to read a certain scripture. Captain Yard was patient enough with this woman to read the scripture. And when we read it, guess what? She didn't want anything from that. She didn't want nothing. She wanted to go into something else. She was like, I'm here to teach you. Reprobate spirit. Had the fringes on because at the end of the day, you got to really look at these spirits that come to go toe to toe with the men of the Most High. Just like these spirits here, they wanted to laugh them to scorn. That's exactly what she was trying to create a scornfulness, contention, things of that nature. So the Most High sent the spirit upon another sister, right? Shalom, shalom, lovely, right? Had this other sister kind of get out the spirit, and well, y'all seen the video, right? Tried to cool her off with something in the bottle. Then she threw a bottle at her. It was out of control. They was scuffling, doing all types of stuff, right? Out of control. Do we want that for our sisters? La, which means no. We don't want our sisters out there fighting. But when you get it, the main question she says is, where's your women at? How come y'all don't bring women out here, right? Y'all some sodomites. Y'all don't got no women. I say pretty much like over 60% of the men are married in our congregation, right? Including myself, right? And we don't bring out women for that reason right there. Because how much patience do you think a woman that's wanting to protect her husband, no different than if somebody attacked our wives, we're willing to go to the furthest extent to protect our children, our wives, ourselves, and especially the law, statutes, and commandments, the word of God, and everything that the Most High requests. We're willing to go to the extent because the scriptures tell us some of us are going to be thrown in prison houses. Some of us is going to be exterminated, right? We got to live with that, right? And I'm telling you, the thing is I look at it like this. We don't know who her son was in his previous day, right? We don't know who she was in her previous day. But the Most High allows him to go through that. He allows her to go through that. No different than when Christ met the man in the graveyard that had 2,000 spirits on her, or on him, Salakia. Same thing. She was all over the place, right? I'm very sure he's not even sure what he's being taught anymore. He's a prisoner of his parent, right? He's in a situation, who knows how it's going, right? Because the last time we dealt with that sister, and Captain Jerubbaal was like, speaking words of life into his son. Hey, son, you need to keep the commandments. Hey, young man, you need to keep the commandments. You see what your mom is doing, that's out of the order of the word. If you're reading your Bible, son, then you know that what she's doing is out of order, right? When he's trying to speak to her, that spirit got riled up. Don't you talk to my son. Don't you talk to my son, right? You have no authority to talk to my son, right? And she got all riled up, and they kept speaking life into him, right? Hey, you're a mighty man. You're an Israelite, right? You have the opportunity to repent of these things, right? Because when it tells you children obey your parents, right? Children obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. What she's doing, and she tells her to do something very wicked, that's when you're not supposed to do it, right? Because we're not going to go against the Most High. We're not, right? We're not supposed to. If I told my child, hey, matter of fact, go microwave me something to drink. But it's the Sabbath that I said go microwave it. And hey, you, while you're at it, go heat up my food on the stove. It's a little cold. But it's the Sabbath. Oh, hey, well, guess what? I want you to do it anyway. And if my children decided, hey, I'm not doing it, right? And I was one of those wicked parents like she was, and I decided to not spread around on my children for being what I would consider disobedient to me, guess what? The disciples went through the same thing when they took those stripes. Just like Paul took those stripes, right? For doing what the Most High said do, just like those 7 children in the book of Maccabees, right? That decided they weren't going to eat the pork, right? Their mother could have easily said, baby, just eat the pork. I don't want you to die. No, she was a righteous woman, enough to laugh the king to score as she watched her children be mutilated right in front of her eyes. Are we getting comfortable in captivity? Are we willing to put it on the line, right? Are we willing to put it on the line? All praises to the Most High, to the mighty soldiers and officers and captain that was out there, right? And no harm was brought to them, right? The angels that were around to protect our people as they was out there crying aloud. We didn't even have our speaker out there with us, right? The Most High sometimes have to test you. Are you going to get comfortable and say, hey, my throat hurts? It's kind of cold out here. Let's just pack it in, guys. Let's go. She got a speaker though. That video was an hour long, and it was probably longer than that she was out there. They endured. They fought the good fight, right? For the Most High's sake. And I salute y'all for doing that, right? Salute y'all for doing that. But we have to ask ourselves, have we become comfortable in captivity? Well, I'm going to take this overtime because I need the money, this, that, the other, right? Well, the Lord won because we fought the battle for him, right? The Lord won, God, right? Because we don't take any law. I mean, we don't take the, what's the word I'm looking for? We don't take the praise, right? We don't take the glory. We don't take the vengeance. All of that belongs to the Most High, right? We're not worthy of any of that. We pray that we're worthy to enter the kingdom and that we've gotten enough sin from our old man off of us, right? So we go out there humbly, sincerely, right? That's the spirit I carry with me out there, right? Ready to protect my brothers if need be, but trusting in the Lord that no evil shall come to you, right? You know I'm going to pull my favorite, Sirach 7:1. You know I'm going to pull it, right? I take this out the camp with me in my heart. The book of Sirach, chapter 7:1. Do no evil, so shall no harm come unto thee, right? Got to take that with you out there when you walk out into this world, when you go into your job, when you go into the grocery store, the corner store, you get in your car, right? You go to do some yard work, you pick your kids up from school, when you drop them off at the bus stop. You got to carry that with you, right? That seed needs to be planted in your mind, right? But we also got to look at it and say, well, I'm not a slave, right? I'm not this and that. Let's look at how the scripture shows you that we paid increased taxes, aka inflation, while we were in captivity, right? That's proven. It's like you're slightly a little stuffed up, the allergies and stuff, but all praises to the Most High for everything, right? The good and the inconvenient, because it's just a small thing, right? Just like it's a small thing for the Lord to lift it. We're going to the book of 2 Kings, chapter 23. We're going to start at verse 33, right? And this is when Jehoahaz, right? And Jehoiakim was reigning over Judah at this time, right? And let's look at what actually happened, right? I'm going to start at verse 32. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his fathers had done. So he was following in his father's footsteps to do evil, right? And Pharaoh, Nechoah, right, put him in bands at Riblah in the land of Hamath, that he might not reign in Jerusalem. So he put him in a situation where he had no control, right? Say you're the king, but you're not really the king, right? No different from how any other thing works. Yeah, you're the front man. Yeah, you won the raffle. Hey, I'm the commander. I control all of this and that, but you have to answer to the House and the Senate, right? You can't just do it like that. But in this situation, the Most High had the Pharaoh put him in bands, right? That he might not reign in Jerusalem because he was doing the wickedness of his father. That wasn't pleasing to the Lord, right? He says that he put the land to a tribute. So, hey, guess what? We was in captivity at that point, and now we're being taxed by the Pharaoh Nechoah, right? Of 100 talents of silver and a talent of gold. And the Pharaoh Nechoah made Eliakim, the son of Josiah, king in the room of Josiah, his father, and turned his name to Jehoiakim, right? And took Jehoahaz away. And he came to Egypt and died there. So, hey, you coming with me. Because y'all doing this evil. So the Most High said, hey, guess what? Since you don't want to serve me with joyfulness, if you don't want to serve me in righteousness, I got something for you. Don't worry, right? Take you back into Egypt since you don't respect how I brought your ancestors out of Egypt. We're going to take you back into Egypt where you're going to die at, right? You're not going to be buried among your people. They'll probably just throw you out wherever, right? Verse 35, and Jehoiakim gave the silver and the gold to Pharaoh, but he taxed the land to give the money according to the commandment of Pharaoh. He extracted the silver and the gold of the people of the land, of everyone according to his taxation, to give it to Pharaoh Nechoah. So he taxed on top of the tax to try and make a little money on the back end, right? According to his taxation, he charged his people inflation, right? He did usury on his people. This is not what the Most High put him in charge to do. But guess what? He's gonna find out the hard way, right? Let's think about it. Even Christ had to experience this scenario with us being under tribute, right? I'm very sure y'all remember this because this is a very common phrase when it comes to people speaking about taxes, right? Matthew's 22:17, right? Let's see here. I'm going to start at 15, right? And I'm going to jump down to 17. It says, the book of Matthew, chapter 22:15. Then went the Pharisees and took counsel how they might entangle him in his talk. It's crazy, right? They thought it was going to trip up Yahushua and his words, right? In regards to these taxes. But Christ had discernment in regards to their trickery. Let's read about it, right? He goes in verse 17. It says, tell us, therefore, what thinkest thou? Is it lawful to give tribute unto Caesar or not? Because they want to be able to say, well, he don't want to pay no taxes. That's punishable by death. We got him. Yeah. Christ seen through their little scheme that they had, right? Verse 18, but Yahweh shall perceive their wickedness, right? And said, why tempt ye me, ye hypocrites, right? Straight went off on them. Verse 19, shew me the tribute money. And they brought unto him a penny. And he said unto him, excuse me, and he saith unto them, whose is this image and superscription? So he's asking, who is this on this money, right? Y'all so worried about this money and paying this tax. Who is this on the money, right? Verse 21. And they said unto him, Caesar's. Then saith he unto them, render therefore unto Caesar the things which are Caesar's, and unto God the things that are God. When they had heard these words, they marveled and left him and went their way. They were confounded, right there, confounded. Couldn't do nothing with it. They thought they were being slick. They thought they had a scheme. They thought it was going to work. It didn't work. Where else have we heard this quoted? In verse 21, right? Render therefore unto Caesar the things which are Caesar's, and unto God the things which are God. Romans 13 and 17. Let's get that precept, right? Let's stack it up. All right, because you got to really look at, we worry about things, but you want to make sure you're not getting comfortable in captivity. Them Pharisees was comfortable in captivity. All right. The book of Romans 13 and 7, it says, render therefore to all their dues. Tribute, to whom tribute is due, right? So you got to pay them taxes, to who the taxes are due, right? Custom, to whom custom. Fear, to whom fear. Honor, to whom honor, right? Same thing, right? So it says, give Caesar what's Caesar's, right? So those are Caesar's customs for us to be paying that tribute, right? And that tribute was something that Caesar came up with, right? But the honor and the fear, that belonged to the Lord, right? They didn't want the Most High. Hey, Most High don't want you fearing no man. What can man do unto me, right? That's his Psalms. What can man, I will not fear what man can do unto me. Carry that one with me everywhere I go, right? But the reason why our people, like these Pharisees, were in this mind state because they had no respect for the Most High while they were in bondage, right? Let's get proof. Let's get proof. Let's go over to Exodus, right? Let's go to chapter 16. Chapter 16 and verse 3. The book of Exodus, chapter 16, verse 3, right? And the children of Israel said, okay, matter of fact, I'm gonna start at verse 2. Let's get a little bit more context. Start at verse 2. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmur against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. Don't this sound like our people? Think about the last time you've been to a family reunion or a family function in the world. Oh man, Uncle Eddie on the grill, man, he burnt the ribs last time. Y'all finna let him cook? But Uncle Eddie, the one that's having the barbecue. This is all his food. You didn't bring nothing, right? But you worried about him cooking. Oh, Auntie Joanne, she making you gonna let her make the potato salad? Oh, man. Who making the macaroni? All this murmuring. Didn't bring anything. No, he didn't even bring napkins, silverware. He didn't bring none of that. All you did was bring your appetite. You were there to serve your belly, right? But that's just how our people be, right? Verse 3, it says, and the children of Israel said unto them, would to God we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, where we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full. For ye have brought us forth into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger, right? So number one, how dare you? You complaining, oh man, we was eating bread, we was full. We had the flesh pots. We just grubbing whatever. But we had enough to eat until we were full, right? Now you're going to bring us out here and starve us to death. How dare you disrespect the Most High, who just drowned all your enemies in the Red Sea? You saw that. You act like you didn't see that Red Sea part, right? You act like you didn't see that. So now you're stressing Moses and Aaron. You disrespecting the Most High. You're spitting on the salvation that he gave you, right? By getting comfortable. They were comfortable in captivity, right? He said they sat by the flesh pots, and when they did get bread, they was able to eat to the full. That's all they was worried about. Serving themselves. They wasn't worried about what the Lord had done for them or what the Lord had done to their enemies. That's why the scripture said what it said, right? Deuteronomy 28 and 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies, right? You know why? Verse 47 tells you, because thou servest not the Lord God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things. No, you want to complain about the flesh pots. Oh, you can eat bread. But that's why you never notice when you go out to these restaurants, like let's say Olive Garden or whatever. I remember the last time we went to Olive Garden, my grandmother died. And my aunt's like, oh, I'm going to take you guys out to dinner. We're going to the Olive Garden. They're going to give you bread upon bread upon bread upon bread. Endless breadsticks. You're going to be full, bread and water. So when your food comes, you're not going to even be able to enjoy it because you full off of bread, right? We got to look at how we are disrespecting the Lord by being comfortable while we're in this bondage. You look at how they complain. Hey, well, when we was doing this, we was in the world, boy. All you can eat at grandma's house on Thanksgiving. All you can eat at the Christmas party at Auntie house, right? All you can eat, all you can drink at the New Year's party at Uncle So-and-so house, right? Cousin Tammy, right? She's a great party planner. All of these things, the Most High's like, I brought you out of the world. I give you my commandments. I'll give you the opportunity to clean off your sins and have an opportunity at the kingdom. And this is how you think of it, right? Man, it's like, hey, who started this salvation stuff? And this the thanks I get, right? Just to paraphrase, but y'all know I'm going at. That's the Ice Cube song, right? The Most High came in there and he destroyed everything in Egypt. He wasn't playing, right? Wasn't playing. He started that gangster ish, right? And this is the thanks that he get. We're going to murmur. We're going to complain. We're going to get comfortable, right? This is the reason why there's a secret educational standard for your children. Because they figure you don't care enough. As long as we could give them a laptop, right? And that's just another way to just get you to captivity, right? Both my children broke their laptops. And we tell her, hey, I gave them straight commandments. Do not break this laptop. Don't do this, don't do that, right? Devil's just like, oh yeah, we got one. I'm going to just make them just not care about it, right? And it's unfortunate. They give us those laptops, and then you got to put your name on the line for it, but you don't even want the laptop for the child. But they say it's required. It's like a snare. They got that snare waiting. Because we know your child's going to break this little refurbished laptop that we got for free from the state, and we're going to be able to charge you the price of what a brand new laptop will cost, right? And they'll say, oh, you want to put some insurance on it? Even if you got the insurance on it, you still got to pay. So you get a double tax, right? This is these double taxes. They want those talent of gold and 50 talents of silver any way they can get it, right? Same thing the pastor. Well, he wanted any way he could get it. He want those tithes. Hey, he's trying to make sure he can get that new 2025 Cadillac. He doesn't care that your family members fight for their heart. Yeah, I'm gonna go buy a CLO. Oh man, I was so busy this week. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go see her next week. Well, Pastor, she didn't make it. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Where's she doing the services at? Y'all want to do it here? You didn't even want to go by and see this woman or this man, but now you want them to have that funeral service there so you can get paid a hefty fee, right? Well, you know she was a member of here. It would only make sense for me to preside over her funeral because it's all about money. Our people just getting tossed to and fro, man. Come out of her ways, right? Let's look at it. They wanted that all you can eat bread to the full, just like those people come out to the street. The first thing they want, oh, can I get some water? How come you're not out here feeding the people that are on drugs and drunk and laying all over the ground and out of control? Why are you not feeding them, right? Why is nobody else feeding them? Well, you're doing the work of God, yeah. So is he. That's the reason why they're out here on the street. It's the reason why they're smitten with madness. This is why they're groping at noonday. Because they did not serve the Lord with joyfulness of heart. When they had opportunity to come back to the Most High, did they do it? Oh, they scoff. Hey, do you got time for the Lord, sis? No, right? Okay, well, praises, Sister Janelle Barbie Jones. There's an email in our description. If you go right to the top corner of this live, there's 3 dots. You press that. Number 1, hit that like button, right? We want to spread the word of the Most High to the 4 corners of the earth. And then when you drop down, you're going to see the description. You're going to see the email. Our Gmail is in there, right? Please reach out. Oh, no problem. We love you too, sis. Please reach out to our leadership via email, and somebody will contact you back at your earliest convenience regarding your concerns or questions that you may have, right? It's a pleasure. We, like, share, subscribe if you haven't already done so, because we want to make sure our people, they need help. We want to be there to help them, right? Thus said the Lord. So I was back in Exodus 16:3, and they wanted that flesh pot. They wanted that bread into the full, just no different than, hey, I want a bottle of water because I see y'all got water, right? Even though I just smoked a cigarette in front of you and refused to throw it down, even though you told me it was sin, I'm still going to smoke this cigarette. But yeah, can you give me a water too? Help out a sinner. Hold back thy bread, right? Matthew 4:4, right? Because we got to look at, this is when the devil was sottish enough to try to tempt Yahushua, right? And Yahushua to show you he wasn't comfortable in captivity, right? Verse 4, Matthew 4:4. But he answered and said, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God, right? We can feed you bread. We can get food out there on the street for those people. But what will it profit, right? If you've ever given, and I've said this in class plenty of times, right? Put a 1 in the chat if you've ever given or attempted to help somebody that was on the street in need, either by food, either by like beverage, like water, or by just trying to help them all together. You try to give them, hey, you're hungry? I'm going to get you something. Oh, just give me the money. I'm not hungry right now. But you just said you was hungry. Can I get something to eat? I'm eating out the trash can. You just literally said that. Your sign says, hey, I'm hungry. I need food. So when I come back with the food, what's going to happen? They're going to sit it on the ground and they're going to walk off because they want that money to buy drugs in most cases or to buy alcohol, right? Because if a person's really hungry and you come back with food to give them, they're going to put that sign there, thank you. Man, I was so hungry, they finna eat at least half of it right now, maybe save some for later. Depending, right? Or they might just eat it all right then and there. They're not gonna sit there and say, well, I don't need that. I don't want that. Oh, well, thank you. You said you was hungry? Yeah, but I'm about to travel. I don't have nowhere to put this food at, and it's gonna get cold anyway. I can go buy the food later and eat it when I'm ready to eat. But you just said you were hungry, right? Now that turns into an argument. Because now they're going to be like, well, I don't need your help, right? This is why Christ said, man should not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of the Most High, right? We have to really look at the opportunities we're given, right? Let's go to Numbers 11, right? Let's look at more of the scoffing, right? Because our people couldn't get their way in the wilderness, right? They were comfortable in captivity, right? The book of Numbers, chapter 11, verse 5, right? Now, it says, in the mixed multitude that was, and I'm starting at verse 4, the mixed multitude that was among them fell a lusting, and the children of Israel also wept again. So we know who the mixed multitude was. Those Egyptians that snuck out with us, right? That could have been somehow connected to us. Who knows what agreements and things of that nature, but it was a mixed multitude of people. Those mixed multitude did not make it. So when Christians say, oh, well, what about the mixed multitude? They didn't make it because look what they were doing. Look what they were doing to our people. They ignore that part, right? They don't look at it as the mixed multitude that was among them fell a lusting. They're lusted. Our people wasn't lusted. But look what it said it caused our people to do. And the children of Israel also wept again and said, who shall give us flesh to eat? Right? Now, because it's no different from when you have a child, it's like a baby, right? The baby cries for some food and get a little baby a cracker, right? The other baby see it like the sibling or whomever, right? Now he looks at his parent, got a cracker for me? We say, no, baby go take it upon himself, maybe walk over there and ask for a cracker too. And when he can't get it, he gonna act a certain way. He gonna cry, right? This is what our people are doing. Look at verse 5, right? Because they asking for flesh to eat now. Where the food at? We're out here, where the cookout at, right? We hungry, right? Verse 5, it says, we remember the fish which we did eat in Egypt freely. Now, what they don't remember is when the Most High turned their rivers to blood. What fish was you eating? Because clearly you couldn't eat no bloody fish. That was against our laws. That's what happened on the way out. You forgot that the Lord did that, huh? And you complained about that fish, right? You want that fish. You ate it freely. So we can go down there and fish and catch all the fish we want. Oh, okay. The cucumbers, and the melons, and the leeks, which were like green vegetables, right? And the onions, and the garlic. But now our soul is dried away. There's nothing at all beside this manna before our eyes. So now they're complaining. They ain't got what they want to drink. They ain't got the food they want to eat, right? The Most High gave them manna, sweet bread, right? To the full. But it wasn't good enough because they had become comfortable in captivity. They was comfortable with all the government assistance, right? All the food stamps, right? All the Section 8 or whatever you want to call them, the housing, all the things that they utilize to lure our people into not trusting in the Lord. Because our sisters say, hey, what do I have to do? Well, I ain't got to do nothing. My rent, what? $30. My light bill, $2. I get $1,000 in food stamps. I ain't got to do nothing. And a lot of these women out here are selling their food stamps, right? But then y'all want to complain about when y'all heard about the migrants getting $5,000 in food stamps and cash assistance and all of these little AI commercials they put all over the internet, right? Y'all had the nerve to complain about that. But what were you doing with the talent or the mercy that the Most High showed you? You wanted to sell it, go buy you some cigarettes, buy you some alcohol, put some blonde weave in your hair, go be lascivious at the club, right? Go hang out. They're taking that child support and giving it to campaigns, right? Those campaigns, hey, that person needs to come out and say thank you for the money. Thank you for the billions of dollars that you just put in my pocket. I will now gracefully disappear into the sunset. Thank you. Gotcha. Right? They're not going to do that. You're going to fall for the same moves. It's the same moves over and over. Right? Our people run into the same shit. Our soul is dry. Y'all, we thirsty. Right? But Christ already told us we're not going to live by bread alone. Just like the guy that came out there, I'm thirsty. But we told you put down a cigarette, you smoked it and smiled. He didn't care about that. The scripture says, help not a sinner. But now when we didn't want to help, you guys are you're out of the spirit. You didn't even care that he was hungry and stuff like that, right? Did the Most High care? Shalom, Minnesota, right? Get to see you, okay? Right? The Most High didn't care when you put him in that situation, right? Take that up with the Lord. But again, it's always going to be some people that's scoffing and mocking. Let's go over the wisdom of Solomon, right? Because our people just murmur. We want the leeks, we want the onions, we want the garlic, right? The cucumbers and the fish and the melons and the bread until the end. They wanted all of that, right? Well, let's look at see what the scripture says, right? Let's look at what the scripture says. Wisdom of Solomon, and I'm just going to get straight to the point. Chapter 1, verse 11. Therefore, beware of murmuring, which is unprofitable. It's not going to get you anywhere, right? Shalom, Adibah, Yapa, beautiful, real, right? I pray everything went accordingly to the grace and mercy of the Most High for you, right? And refrain your tongue from backbiting, right? What are you backbiting for? Oh, we ain't got our cucumbers. We don't got the melons. We want some onions. We want the garlic. We want some bread. We want to eat the bread until we're full. We want the fish. We want our meat pots, right? We was in slavery. We was all right with that, right? Just like our people now, they still eating chitlins. What are you doing, right? Hog walls. You're still eating all this slave food, and you're upset because you can't get the slave food? Come on, man, that's crazy. Most High gave you something that was completely clean to him, and you wanted something that was given to you as scraps, right? It says, for there is no word so secret that shall go for naught. So you think the Most High don't hear you murmuring and scoffing because it says something profitable to you. It's not get you anywhere, it's going to get you in trouble. No different from when, let's say, your child asks to do something and you tell them no. They stop in the room and they get the murmuring under their tongue. Man, it's stupid, man. I can't never do what I want to do. It's crazy. You're supposed to bust in that room. Like Jason and spread out the rod. Who you think you're talking to, right? Who you thinking? That's like what the broken mic. God, right? You're supposed to get that respect back. Who do you think you're talking to, right? Because you're not murmuring against me, right? You're murmuring against the Most High because children, you got a commandment. Children, obey your parents and the Lord, for this is right. Honor thy mother and thy father, that it may be well with thee, as thou may live longest on the earth. So when you go against that, you murmuring against the commandments of the Most High. So when that spirit is putting your parents to come in there and spread out the rod and give you something to murmur about, give you something to cry about, then all of a sudden now it's wrong. But this is what captivity has done. Hey, you can't do that. You can't do that. We want your child running wild, right? So that way we can go ahead and pew them down, right? So we can go ahead and lock your daughter's mind up to want to be a dancer, an OnlyFans model, all of this foolishness, right? Wanting to enter into their institutions that end with the same conclusion. Well, fortunately, you're overqualified. And, because they're running your credit now to get a job. So when they see those student loans all over your credit, why do you think you ain't getting a job? Catch 22. It's a catch 22 like a mom, right? But we're in captivity. You feel that if I go get the Idumeans education standards and documents, I'm gonna be able to get it. I get don't murmur, etc. But what if they ask why about it? The way they ask parents not being this. Well, look at it like this, right? The authority is set. The Most High, nobody questions him, right? Yahweh Shai, we saw what happened when they questioned him, man, woman, child, right? So out of respect, if I say, because the children, it says clearly, children obey your parents in the Lord, but this is right, right? So if you're a parent and you say, hey, can I go outside and play with my friends? No, because the other day when I looked out the window, I see y'all out there throwing rocks. Y'all hit that car. You thought I didn't see it, right? Y'all was out there fighting and scuffling around and stuff. And that little boy got hurt and went home, and you can't run it in the house. I don't want you hanging around though. There is no why at that point. You give it a full explanation. You are the judge and judge. So if the mother says, hey, you can't do this, hey, where you going with that dress on? That dress is too tight. It's cut too low in the front. There is no why with that. It's, hey, I'm basically the authority figure over you. You go in the room and change that dress. Matter of fact, you give me that dress. You're not wearing that ever again. You've outgrown that, right? Because you don't want your daughters out here having men lusted after them. You see all the confusion in this world with these younger women or younger people being violated by older people, right? So when a child feels that they can come to you and question you, sis, then that opens a door. That opens a door at that point that some people aren't able to close, because now your child gets outspoken. They get the spirit of being puffed up. They get prideful, right? And that's something that the Most High is not going for, right? Because we have a job to do as parents. So if my child does something during the week that's disobedient, willingly said, hey, why was you doing this or that, right? No TV. They know not to ask me why, because I say, well, do you know why you're going on punishment? And they're like, yeah, because I was throwing rocks and I wasn't supposed to be doing this and I was doing this and that and I should have did this. I'm sorry, right? Okay, so you know why you're on punishment. There's no why at that point. They've answered their own question because we know we were children at one point, right? Provoking your child to anger, right? When you provoke your child to anger, let's say your child's in a room reading a book, right? Minding their business. I had a bad day at work. I decided to stop and get a drink on the way home. I come in the house. My wife speaks to me. I tell her to shut up, go in the room. I don't want to hear that right now. I bust in the room because I trip over, let's say, I step on one of my children's toys or something real intricate, right? I see the table should have been straightened up, but I see one of your workbooks on the table, right? And I decide to come in the room and just wail off on my child or my children, right? For no reason. Or those parents, like, I don't know if y'all know about the Menendez brothers. They claim that their parents the father violated them. That's provoking your child to wrath, because you're provoking them by doing something to them that it wasn't called for, right? Being inappropriate with your children, and you know exactly what I mean when I'm saying this, because we have to be careful with the algorithm, right? Being an inappropriate parent to your children, violating them, right? That's going to provoke them to wrath, because you saw what the Menendez brothers did. They went in there and they eliminated the mother because she knew what was going on, so they say, and they eliminated the father because he was the one who was doing the violating on them. They went to jail, and I think they're getting out or something like that, right? This happened to my mother when they came home, frustrated nephew, title, forcing her to entitled, force him to, he wants to go home if she calls. Well, that's the whole thing. This is why you be angry and sin not, right? Be angry and sin not. That's why sometimes you need to pray before you enter your house. Pray before you leave your job. Lord, please don't bring home this spirit of anger into my household. Please let me come home to a household of peace. These are things we're supposed to ask for, right? So we don't drive our children to wrath when we are able to have a bridge of communication. You know why you're getting punished, right? You know why I'm out to spread out the rod, right? Yep. So as long as if you have that communication with them, they have an understanding. This is how you raise a child in the way that they should go, right? People don't raise their children in the way that they should go, and they pay for it down the line, right? Where was I? Oh, so like I was in Wisdom of Solomon 1:19. It says, therefore, beware of murmuring, which is unprofitable. It's not going to profit you nothing. It's just going to upset the Most High, right? It says, and refrain your tongue from backbiting, for there is no word so secret that shall go for naught, and the mouth that belieth slayeth the soul, right? So your mouth can get you in trouble with the Lord. Your actions can get you in trouble with the Lord, right? It's telling you right here that there's no word so secret that it should go for naught, and the mouth that belieth, right, slayeth the soul. Okay, let's get a precept for that. Let's find out how and who was slaying the souls, right? Let's go over to 1 Corinthians, right? Let's go over to 1 Corinthians. Okay. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 9, right? It says, neither let us tempt Christ, as some of them also tempted and were destroyed by serpents, right? Now, you got to think about this. In Numbers 21:6, right? That's the precept for this. Our people was out there murmuring and acting a fool, and the Lord sent fiery serpents among the people, and they bit them, and many of them died, right? Now, I could go into even further breakdown of something else that was prophesied through this happening, but I'd say that for another class, right? So right there in that 21st chapter and 6th verse of Numbers, we see that they tempted Christ. That's what it says. Neither let us tempt Christ, as some of them also tempted and were destroyed of serpents. Those fiery serpents were thrown down, right? They were thrown down. Let's look at this. Verse 10, neither murmur ye, as some of them also murmured. Who? What we're reading about right here in Exodus 16:3, when they're complaining about the bread, right? In Numbers 11:5-6, when they're complaining about the onions and the garlic and the melons and the fish and the flesh pots, right? It says, neither murmur ye, as some of them also murmured and were destroyed of the destroyer. Who was the destroyer, right? Christ. He was the destroyer. Wasn't playing that. That's why it says right here, neither let us tempt Christ. Don't you play with him, right? One of my favorite scriptures, Luke 19:27, right? One of my favorite scriptures. And I tell people this all the time. You want to play with the Most High? Look at it. The book of Luke 19:27. It says, but those my enemies, which would not that I should reign over them, bring hither and slay them before me, right? These are the words of Christ. When he comes back, we're in the wilderness, he's going to get slayed before his feet. He's not coming back to play. He didn't play then. And when he comes back, he's definitely not to play with. He's going to be on vengeance time. It ain't going to be no, if y'all read how the day of judgment, how a lot of prophets say, hey, I would rather be dead in the ground than to see when the day of judgment happen. I don't want to even be around for that. That's what these prophets have said in the scriptures. We already know how the Most High, when he introduced himself to the children of Israel, they stood afar off. We're going to be over here. They saw the tempest. They saw the hail, the lightning, the hurricanes, the earthquake. They saw all of the glory and the mightiness of the Most High to show, hey, we're serving a God that can do all of this at the same time. Are we straight as long as we do what he say do? And that's where it was supposed to go. Some of them kept it like that, right? Not everybody was wicked. Not everybody wanted Christ on the cross. Not everyone wanted to break the commandments. Job was perfect, right? One of the disciples' parents, they were perfect. They kept all the commandments. We have to strive for that perfection, right? Matthew 5:48, be ye perfect like the Father. Why not, right? Let's go over, right? Because you don't want to be destroyed by the destroyer, but let's go over to Judges 21-25, right? To touch on something. The book of Judges, chapter 21, verse 25. Because again, with no respect for the Most High while you're in bondage, look what can happen, right? Judges 21:25. In those days, there was no king in Israel. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes. Got comfortable, right? Well, hey, ain't no king while we here, while we're stuck in America. So I'm going to do this over time. I'm going to keep this Christmas. I'm going to do this Thanksgiving, celebrate my birthday. I'm going to wear what I want to wear, right? I will not be modest, right? I'm gonna create children out of wedlock, right? I'm gonna serve other gods. That's what our people are doing right here, because they look at it, there's no king in the land right now. So they were doing what's right in their own eyes. You can't tell me what to do. That's not my Christ. That's not my book. Okay, no problem. Want to do what's right in your own eyes? Go over to Isaiah 5:21. Because it's going to tell you right now what happens when you do that, right? It says, woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes. So destruction unto them that are wise in your own eyes. Hey, I don't think you should do that. Hey, you can't tell me what to do. Hey, I don't think you should hang out with those guys. I don't think you can tell me what to do, right? When you're wise in your own eyes, I told one of my friends, hey, don't get in the car with him, man. Well, you got that screwdriver. Where y'all going? Oh, we just riding around to smoke a car. Hey, bro, I wouldn't do that. 2 weeks later, come knocking at my door. What's going on, bro? Man, I was locked up in jail. That woe came upon him, right? That woe, right? He warned me, hey, you shouldn't be hanging out with this dude. We can't trust him. He just showed us we can't trust him. What did I do? I was bored, hanging out. Guess what? Ended up in handcuffs. Thank Most High. He had mercy. I didn't go into jail, right? He had mercy in regards to that. He gave me grace and mercy. Not everyone has the same grace. They have to say a word, right? You have to let the Most High fight your fights for you. When you go in there and think you're going to get the vengeance, you're going to get the results you want, and you're not putting the Most High first, right? Then you got a problem on your hands. Plenty of times the Most High told our people, don't go out there and fight. I'm not with you. And what happened? Went up there and got slaughtered, scattered like bees, right? They swarmed on us like bees, right? But it says, woe to them that are wise in their own eyes and prudent in their own sight. They think highly of themselves, right? We see Esau go through this all the time, right? The crocodile hunter. Let me go down here and mess with this stick right here. Next thing you know, he's no longer, right? Out there wrestling down animals. Out there going on safaris, right? Sometimes they don't come back. Sometimes you're not going to hear about it, right? But it's all praise to the Most High, right? Touch not the Most High's property, but they do it anyway. Go over to Proverbs 23:4, right? Proverbs 23:4. Because when you're comfortable in captivity and you're doing what's right in your own eyes, you start to forget that the Most High gave you the opportunity to do what's right, right? Because at the end of the day, He wants you. He chose you, right? Go ahead and share it with her. You say your sister needs to hear it, go ahead and share it with her, right? And hopefully the Most High can show her, right? We got to look at, are you being tempted by the devil and just doing what you want to do, right? Because it says, woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes and prudent in their own sight, right? You got the Sabbath, but guess what? Here comes Tom. Hey, let me talk to you, buddy. Hey, I know tomorrow's your day that you do your thing, right? They got no respect for the Most High's day, right? So they're gonna just try and downplay it, right? Proverbs 23:4 says, labor not to be rich, cease from thy own wisdom, right? Because the thing is you got these people out here working 80 hours a week, right? Like truck drivers, they try to overwork you. Let me see you right back out. Oh, they got another load for you. I'm going to pay you double. I'm going to pay you time and a half. But that's what I'm going to myself. But hey, look, man, better get this money wise on the table because things are going to slow down in a couple of weeks. They got all the excuses in the world to try and scare you into doing it, right? Well, hey, look, if I can't count on you, man, then you got to find another company to drive for. If I can't count on you to come in on the weekend, you got to find somewhere else to work at, right? They will do this to you, right? And they'll say, hey, I'm paying you 3 times over if you come in and do this on the, just hey, one Sabbath ain't going to hurt you. God can forgive you, right? Your God will forgive you, right? Hey, Jesus is forgiving, right? You guys are always in the Bible. That's how they're going to downplay it. That's how they're going to downplay it. You're working so much, trying to make so much money, you're missing the new moon celebrations, which is the Holy Convocation. You're missing the Passover. You're missing tabernacles. You're missing first fruits. You're missing the Day of Atonement because you're working, right? I'm trying to get that promotion. I'm trying to move up. Once I get that promotion, then I can do what I want to do. What did the scripture say? Proverbs 23:4 says, labor not to be rich. Cease from thy own wisdom. Because guess what? A lot of these men, they're working all these hours. You don't see your family. Next thing you know, there's infidelity in your household, right? Your wife might step out. The first thing she'll say is, you're working all the time. Your kids start to get a little disrespectful because you're not there to keep them in line. Daddy only cares about work. He don't care about us, right? These spirits start to transgress them against you. They start to transpire in your house, right? Cease from thy own wisdom, right? That's why it says, woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes. Hey, don't fall for it. Don't get comfortable in captivity. You got to know better than that. You get comfortable, right? You're going to do what you feel is right in your own heart. Well, I'm going to get this overtime. I'm going to get this overtime for Christmas. But hey, you got feast of dedications coming up. Well, I already told them I was going to work for Christmas, but hey, that's during the time of feast of dedication. Well, what do you expect me to do? Hey, don't get upset with me. I'm just telling you, thus say the Lord, right? I'm just telling you that. But a lot. God, so gentle, right? This is why we go through all of these slavery, double standards for employees, right? Todd can come in for overtime, but when he says he got somewhere to go, Todd's out of there, right? Leaving you with all the work to do. Hell, this person's always off of work, right? You get that because by the grace and glory of the Most High, all of my feast days are accounted for, right? I don't get paid for them, but I'm granted to not be harassed in regards to not being at work. So there's no type of disciplinary action, no points like for attendance and things of that nature. That's a blessing. A lot of these jobs don't want to comply with anything, right? But just like we saw with Ezra and Nehemiah, it's like you got to pray to the Most High fast. Hey, make my enemies my footstool. Make them be at peace with me. Lord, you utilize them. I'm asking for these days off. I'm trusting in you. I believe in you. If it be your will, I'm going to have these days off. I want to keep your holy convocations, which I'm commanded to be at, Lord. I don't care about being at this job when I'm supposed to be at this feast day that you commanded me to be at. So if it be your will, Lord, please give me the opportunity to be off. You can't be afraid to ask the Lord first. Then you go in there and try and square things. But before you do, you say, Lord, direct my path, guide my steps, lead me in thy truth, teach me in thy righteousness, help me to say the right things, and put a spirit of submission on these heathens when I go in here and ask for this, to have them to do what I'm asking for, thus say you. Just like you did for Ezra, just like you did for Nehemiah. When we needed to rebuild our gates and our walls, they were given the permits. They were given access to items that was taken from us. They were given opportunity to travel freely without any kind of confusion, without any kind of penalty, right? You got to ask the Lord for this. You can't be afraid to ask for it. Don't be like the disciple walking on the water. You get afraid because of the wind, blowing you up a little bit, blowing you around a little bit. You start to sink, right? Don't be afraid to call out to Christ, right? We give me an example, right, of somebody who did not get comfortable in captivity, right? We're going over to Daniel, the book of Daniel, right? Chapter 2, and we're going to go to verse 46. Right, because Daniel, we're going to read about it. I'm not going to even spoil it. We're going to read about it. The book of Daniel, chapter 2, verse 46. Then the king Nebuchadnezzar fell upon his face and worshiped Daniel, right? This is after he had the dream and Daniel wrote the dream down, right? And commanded that they should offer him oblation and sweet odors unto him, right? So Nebuchadnezzar was pretty much, in a sense, praising, or how the young kids say, glazing Daniel, right? It was just, hey, he was so happy that that dream was interpreted to him. The Most High put a spirit of submission on King Nebuchadnezzar, right? It says, and the king answered unto Daniel and said, of a truth it is that your God is a God of gods and a Lord of kings and a revealer of secrets, seeing thou couldst reveal this secret, right? Shalom, Valerie, right? Verse 48. Then the king made Daniel a great man. Now, this is signed off by the Most High, right? Daniel wasn't going to get comfortable in this captivity, right? The Most High knew this. This is why he did what he did, right? The king made the Most, well, you say the Most High, but the Most High made the king. But the king made Daniel a great man and gave him many great gifts. He didn't let those gifts ruin his heart, though, right? Daniel stayed on task, right? We can't let many great gifts. That's why it says labor not to be rich. These gifts that they try to throw you, right? That's why I segued from that into this. All praise to the Most High. He put it on my spirit to do it that way, right? It says, the king made Daniel a great man, gave him many great gifts, and made him ruler over the whole province of Babylon, right? That's big, right? God. Yeah, I made reference to I also made reference to Daniel and Joseph, but I didn't want the class to run too long in regards to this. I just went with Daniel, right? In regards to this, because of how it played out. Joseph's played out a little bit different, but we wanna touch on not getting comfortable in captivity. So I picked Daniel versus Joseph and Daniel, just to show that Daniel didn't get comfortable. Not saying Joseph did either, but there was a reason why Daniel couldn't be comfortable, right? As he knew who he was dealing with. It says, made him ruler over the whole province of Babylon and chief of the governors over all the wise men of Babylon. Then Daniel requested of the king, and he set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the affairs of the province of Babylon, but Daniel sat in the gate of the king, right? So he pulled his people up, right? But you never trust your enemies, right? You never trust your enemies. That's just Sirach 12 and 10. Never trust thy enemy. Matter of fact, I'm going to just read it. Never trust thy enemy, right? The book of Sirach, chapter 12, verse 10. Never trust thy enemies, for like as iron rusted, so is his wickedness, right? So as you know, you got to be careful, especially with Nebuchadnezzar, with all these kings, Cyrus, Darius, all of these kings that they had. In the one moment they're here, oh, I'm praising the Lord. Next thing you know, they went to foolishness. We're going to see, right? And this was before all the foolishness happened to Daniel, right? Daniel just revealed the dream. He here upgrading them. Yeah, we're going to do this, right? All right, let's look at it. So down the line, right, you know how them Chaldeans were, right? They accused the Jews of defying the king, right? And that was the decree to worship his golden image. Remember how they had it planned, right? They made the golden image, right? And they said, when you hear the music, right, you're supposed to get down and worship the actual golden image, right? Let's go over to Daniel's 3 and 12. Let's get this account, right? The book of Daniel, chapter 3, verse 12. And are certain Jews whom thou hast set over the affairs of the province of Babylon. So they're being a Karen about it. Oh, Well, you set these Jews over the province, but look what they're doing, right? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not regarded thee. They serve not thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up, right? So they went over there and they started with the problems. You can't trust your enemies, right? This is the reason why Daniel, as well as the three holy children, which is Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, this is the reason why they couldn't take their eyes off the prize. This is the reason why they could not get comfortable in captivity, because soon as you get comfortable, they waiting, they plotting. Just like with Christ and the Pharisees in Matthew 22 and 17 through 21. They was trying to trick them up. They was trying to get them to basically fold their flag, right? That's what they were trying to get them to do, right? Verse 13, it says, Then Nebuchadnezzar, in his rage and fury, commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And then they brought these men before the king, right? So the king started to question their situation. It jumped down to 16. It says, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. If it be so, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thy hand, O king. So right then and there, he said, look, I'm not going to be careful what I'm about to say. We serve a God that's going to take us right up out this situation. So if you got to send us to the furnace, you got to do what you got to do. We not going to worship no golden image because you got the music going. That's not what we're going to do. That's not the God that brought us out of Egypt, right? So when that happened, right, that was a problem. They couldn't get comfortable. They didn't get comfortable in captivity. So they had to tell him to his face, right? Look at verse 18. It says, But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. Then was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury, and the form of his visage was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, right? So he did a Denzel. Oh, I'm putting cases on all of y'all, all three of y'all, right? And at first he was cool with them. They was running the providence of Babylon, right? So I knew I should have trusted these. You know what I'm saying? Therefore he spake and commanded that they should heat the furnace 17 times more than it was wont to be heated, right? And he went and got the most strongest men to bound them up. This is how much fear he had. He wanted to turn that furnace up. Then he went and got the strongest men. No, the Most High made him do this because he had to embarrass Nebuchadnezzar yet again, right? Took them down into the fiery furnace, had it so hot. When somebody went down there to look, to see what was going on, they got consumed with the fire. That's how hot it was down there, right? They just really couldn't fathom, hey, what did you see was down there? Ain't no fire on them. It's somebody in there with them. I know you said three, but it's somebody in there. Yahweh Shah was down there with them. They didn't even have the smell of fire on them. Smoke, soot, they didn't have any of that. You know, if you ever cooked on a barbecue grill at the feast days, you know that smell of that smoke for that charcoal all over you. Gotta leave your clothes outside. Gotta let them air out, right? But the Most High kept his word because they did no evil, so no harm came unto them. They did not get comfortable in the captivity, even though they were given the opportunity to have rulership in the land of Babylon, right? So let's look at this, how it got even worse. Let's jump over to chapter 6, right? Because guess what? He didn't just stop there. He did not stop there because guess what? They had that feast. Nebuchadnezzar went kind of crazy for a moment. Then Nebuchadnezzar was trying to praise the Most High again. The Most High wasn't trying to hear none of that. right? Because he knew, just like the Pharaoh, all of that was Cap. Sombrero, biggest cap, right? Sombrero, the biggest cap, right? Look what happened with Daniel, who was supposed to be over the whole providence, who was sitting in the king's gate, right? Who had authority. Let's look and see. The book of Daniel, chapter 6, and I'm going to start at verse 3. It says, then Daniel was preferred above the presidents and princes because of an excellent spirit was in him. And the king thought to set him over the whole realm. So again, I believe Darius was going to go ahead and do this, right? Then the presidents and the princes sought to find occasion against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but they could not find none occasion nor fault. So they was trying to look for a way, just like how the Pharisees tried to do Christ, looking for a way to trip him up, have an aha moment, a gotcha moment, right? But they couldn't find one because the Most High made sure they didn't find one, right? It says, for as much as he was faithful, neither was there any error or fault found in him. Then said these men, we shall not find any occasion against this Daniel, except we find it against him concerning the law of his God. All right? So already they about to start the foolishness, right? Verse 6, right? And then these presidents and princes assembled together to the king, went in there trying to tell, right? And said unto him, King Darius, live forever. So they started off pandering, right? They started off with the pandering. They started off with the brown nosing, right? It says all the presidents of the kingdom, the governors and the princes, the counselors and the captains have consulted together to establish a royal statute and to make a firm decree that whosoever shall ask a petition of any god or man for 30 days, save of thee, O king, he shall be cast into the lion's den. So they catch you praying to someone else, or pretty much like dealing with somebody else, having a because they try to be flattering with their words to get the king to go for it. But the first thing that they was asking, hey, if we catch somebody praying to another god that's not our gods, we need to go ahead and throw them in the lion's den. That's what we're going to do. We can't have that, right? Verse 8 says, now the king established the decree and signed the writing that it be not changed according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, which altereth not. So now they try to double down. Look, hey, put it on the law. Our law don't change. We standing on this. We standing on this Mede and Persian, right? This is how they tricked Darius, because he signed it, right? Pretty much he's in verse 9, he signed it, right? But verse 10 is where you can see Daniel was not going to get comfortable in captivity. It says, now when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, right? Because he knew, he went into his house, and his windows being open in his chamber towards Jerusalem, he kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his God, as he did after time. So as he did before, he was doing that, right? This is how they was like, oh, we got you now, verse 11. And then these men assembled and found Daniel praying and making supplication before his God. Because they knew what time was praying. They knew it. They knew it like clockwork. They knew when he was giving oblations and supplications, right? Verse 12, then they came near and spake before the king concerning the king's decree. Hast thou not signed a decree that every man that shall ask a petition of any god or man within 30 days, save of thee, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions? The king answered and said, the thing is true, according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which altereth not. Then answered they and said before the king that Daniel, which is of the children of captivity of Judah, regardeth not thee, O king, nor the decree that thou hast signed, but maketh his petition 3 times a day. Then the king, when he heard these words, was sore displeased with himself, and set his heart on Daniel to deliver him, and he labored till the going down of the sun to deliver him. Right? So he said, I'm finna go find him. I'm gonna find this man and I'm gonna throw him in the lion's den. Right? They put a stone in front of the lion's den so to make sure he didn't get out. Right? David was not, Salakia, Daniel was not going to get comfortable in captivity. Even though they gave him all these gifts from the heart, make you comfortable, right? Even though they made him a mighty man, right? Labor not to get rich, right? Because look at how he did the 3 holy children. They threw them into the fiery furnace. Most High said, nope, nothing's gonna happen. Threw him into the lion's den. Nope, not gonna do it. But guess what? Daniel had another scenario where he had to interpret more dreams. So they was going to keep needing him, right? Daniel had to pray, and there's a lot of things going on with Daniel, but Daniel never became comfortable in captivity. And neither can you. Don't get comfortable in captivity, man. I'm Soldier Ehud Bunyan Shirala here at the Battle Axes of the Most High. We say keep the commandments of the Most High, right? And I'm going to go ahead and get a commandment, all right? I pray everybody was edified as I was with these edifying scriptures, right? Let's see him get a law. And I'm going to go with Exodus chapter 20, verse 3. I'm going to go with the first commandment, all right? All praises to the Most High. Like I said, I'm just nothing but a humble servant, all right? Just doing as our Father has willed us to do, right? Go with the first commandment, Exodus chapter 20, verse 3. Thou shalt have no other gods before me, right? That means not worshiping yourself, not worshiping man. As you can see by the prophets, they stood on commandments, right? Like I like to say, I got that shirt, standing on commandments, right? And that's how we have to do. We have to stand on the will of God. You got to take that Sirach 71 with you everywhere you go, right? Again, I'm Soldier Ehud Bunyan Shirala of the Battle Axes of the Most High. I pray you was edified by this lesson. And I want to say, Call Halal Yahweh Bahashim, Mashiach Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yasharala, Barakatah Akim, Wa Akwatim Shemai. And with that, please have a Barak day of preparation as we get ready to bring in the Sabbath this evening. Again, I'm Soldier Ehud Bunyan Shirala of the Battle Axes of the Most High. Barakatah and peace be upon your households. Shalom.